Morning watchers, Scott from SE Landscaping. I want to talk about a job we've been on this last week. You may remember about 2 weeks ago I had some photos for any of you guys who follow me on Facebook. These two photos that you can see now. Which are a before and after of some trees we took out on a bit of land that looked just like a nice bit of grass that we'd killed, and it looked like an area that would come up quite well. As the week went on, following the tree work, we decided that we would rotivate the area ready for turf, but the garden was to be fenced off individually, so the easiest way to do this is, rather than try and rotivate individual gardens, is to rotivate it straight across, as you'll see now on the video. So first pass on this to take away the water today. So rather than trying to rotivate individual gardens and getting into corners, the first pass can be done like this, and following that we'll go around with a little tiller just once the fencing is up. So the rotivating was carried out. Next, the fencing was installed. So back at the building site, fence is all complete apart from these gaps we've left so that we can get into turf, but as you can see, it is just not drying up. Just slop, for a better word. So the plan is we're going to get these levelled today, just rough, and we're going to do an old technique of when someone wants a job finishing swiftly. It is not how I'd want to do it, but we're going to put a layer of sharp sand over the top of the areas, so we'll board them somewhere near level, and then we'll go at it with the sharp sand. This is the new soil we brought in. If you look at this, this is lovely, ideal for turfing and planting, but the existing ground is just an absolute mess. So we should be getting on with that today, getting it somewhere near, and getting ready for some sand to come in tomorrow. And following that, we thought the ground would drain away, which wasn't the case, and a bit of investigation from neighbours on the site, we found out that it was a bit of a swamp area. So we go to the client once the fence is up, and basically I say to him, ideally you either need a French drain in, some proper drainage putting in, or we need to leave it till April. And the reason years ago that I got out of doing building jobs was because builders, for a better word, are cowboys, and that's not how we operate. And I used to do some jobs which were substandard, basically because that's what the client wanted, not because that was how we did it. We still got paid, but at the end of the day, if most of you guys are like myself, you want to do a good job. You don't want to leave somebody with something that's going to be bad, and you know it's going to be bad. And this is one of them jobs. The client came back and said, we have a completion date for middle of December. We need the gardens turfing. So I explain about the French drain, which is not an option, and the client comes back and advises that they'll give us some sharp sand. I think you know where this is going now. So 10 tons of sharp sand arrives on site, and we start to spread it on the really wet areas, but to be honest, the the areas are just slop. So basically you're levelling this slop with the back of a rake, and then you're boarding the ground. The sand's coming in today, so it's not ideal conditions, as you can see. It's just, the water's just sitting. Same again, a little cultivator just to level it out, and then this one has actually been boarded level because it's just slop. So usually what you do is you'd rotivate an area, and then we'd run over it with a small roller, and then you'd knock any imperfections out with the back of a rake. We're actually boarding this slop, and as we're boarding this slop, the slop is going from one bit to the next. So back to the client, explain the situation. They want the turf on. So the client, the good news for us is the client has signed a form to say that we can go back in April and roll it. But I have a fear that, although we'll get paid, I have a fear that the people the client is working for will want these gardens redone. And if you're watching the video, you'll probably feel the same way. So I think come April next year, we'll end up stripping the turf off and possibly drainage going in, because these gardens are going to be wet forever. And yes, come April, when this dries up, we could probably roll them and get them to a decent standard. But it's my opinion that come the winter again, these gardens will be underwater. So we went ahead, we got the turf delivered, and as you can see from the video now, that is the best quality we can get. Well, I wouldn't even describe it as quality, and the reason I'm putting this video up is just to explain to people that although one or two builders might be good, the majority of them, this is what you're working against, and there is no quality really. So like I say, watch the video. There's lots of ways that we could have left this. I mean, I'm sure if they'd gone back to the client and said, look, it is not possible to do this job properly, the client might have said, fair enough, we'll wait. But, and that's my opinion, but as far as the client who came to me, the builder came to me and said, look, we want it down. So my plan is, as I've said, I'll go back in a couple of weeks and just board these areas again. But as you can see, they're very undulating, and the problem is, as you're standing on one bit of the turf, another bit of the turf is actually rising in the ground, so you can't get consistent levels on it. And the main reason I've put this video up is because, as all of you know from my previous stuff, I find a lot of YouTubers put videos up with good work and everything like that. I want to put up real life videos of what people are up against in the real world, because we're up against things like this, and we're up against customers who, like I said earlier, the reason I got out of doing work like this a number of years ago, when I used to work a lot on the construction sites, was because of you constantly battling and you're constantly trying to produce a result that isn't possible, a good result that isn't possible. So I thought I'd put this video out there just as a guide, but please don't take this as this is common practice for our work, because it isn't. And we are still getting paid for this substandard job because the client has asked for this job to be done, and there's no other work without them. There's no other way without them actually putting drainage in for me and sorting it out, or the second plan was to leave it till April. There's no way we could actually do any better with this job. So I hope you liked the video. I hope it's been informative for anybody who's possibly in the same boat, who does sort of jobs for construction and can resonate with what I'm saying, or people who are thinking, oh, if I get on the sites it's going to be easy work and it's going to be easy money. Yes, we got well paid for this job, even though it's bad, but no, it's not good, and it's not the best of work. Like I said, don't get me wrong, there are a couple of builders who are good out there, but there are a lot. I mean, we did a lot of work for Persimmon about 10 years ago, and that was probably these gardens we've done here were similar to a couple of schemes we did for Persimmon, and it was just clash it down. And we used to go and do gardens that still had scaffolding. We were told to turf round the scaffolding, and then what would happen is the builders would come back, take the scaffolding down, walk all over the turf, and then we would have to go back in and repair it, and it just wasn't good work. So I have dropped back in the last few weeks with doing a few of these construction jobs, but when I think back, I think, why did I do it? And I'll probably be drawing a line under it again and just going back to what we do best, which is the maintenance and the small landscaping jobs for good clients that we have who basically turn out good work. So thanks for watching. If you like the videos, what we're doing, if you can subscribe and share it with people, it would be great, just to get the channel growing. We're just short of 200 subscribers at the moment, so I hope that's a sign that we're producing results that people want. So see you on the next one.